What's up, everybody? Welcome to a Gregway. Of course, every Wednesday and Friday, I answer one of your questions that you submit in the comments below. Today's question comes from Lammy94. Lammy94 says, what worries or stresses you out, Greg? That's a good question. I mean, two things come to mind, right? Of course, just a regular old stressor for anybody else, I'm sure, is money. I'm always worried about money. Do I have enough money? I'm not broke, but I'm definitely not rich, you know what I mean? It's always like, well, if one horrible thing happened, I'd probably be pretty screwed here and have to catch up. So you always worry about money. Do I have enough money put away? I'm the worst adult. Like, I know a lot of us in my generation are as well, but like, I have a 401k, I think, that's doing things over there. Is it doing the right thing? Are we gonna get to the point where I'm 65 and I go to these and they're just worthless and they don't help me at all? That's the kind of thing I get concerned about, or that worries me or stresses me out, I guess. It's just like, oh man, do I have enough? How much is enough? What is this? What is that? However, the big worry, this is something Justin Davis and I talked about on one of the GTA 5 live streams over on IGN. My biggest worry in life currently is that my cancer would come back. And I don't mean to get all doom and gloom on you, but it's just like, you know, back in 2012, I fought Hodgkin's lymphoma stage 2, beat it, in quotes, of course. Got it to go away, is more like it. And I'm just terrified that one day that would come back. Because I was super naive about cancer the first time around, right? Like, my experience with cancer obviously had been, I had grandparents who had it, all these different things, but experience of cancer as an adult, right? Like, when I was working for the newspaper after college, I followed this little boy around. His name was Tim Grant, and he had neuroblastoma. And before I started the paper, they had done a profile on him where he had beaten cancer. And then years later, I started the paper, and his cancer had come back. So I was tasked with following him this next time around, where it was basically had to have this like, you know, radical surgery kind of thing, like, you know, new cutting edge thing that might not work, might work, radiation kind of thing like that. And so I remember when we were going, I followed him, you know, for 6 months, which turned out to be the last 6 months of his life. But when I followed him to one of his chemo appointments, I didn't really know what chemo was, right? I think a lot of, now granted 50-50, or what is it, 50-50 has changed that, I think, for a lot of people. And just in general, people, you know, technology and everything, yada, yada, yada. Anyways, I didn't really know what I was getting into, and I thought, you know, he'd be like in a tube getting bombarded with radiation or something like that. But of course, in chemotherapy, you just sit in a chair and they give you a drip and all this stuff happens. And so I watched him do the chemo and everything else, right? And he just sat there and played his DS and stuff, and eventually didn't feel well and told his mom that, and he took a nap or whatever. And I was just like, oh, okay, this isn't that bad. So when I got cancer and I went to get chemo, I was expecting, like, I'm gonna finally have time to play all these Vita games and it'll be great. And so I sat down and, like, I know I've told this story a million times on like Girl on Guy podcasts and stuff like that, but you know, it was a disaster, and chemo it sucks. It's the worst thing in the world, you know what I mean? So like, the first time I did it, I had an allergic reaction, I lost my eyesight, and I lost control on the left side of my body and all these different things. And then you think, okay, well, that's the first time, the next times it'll all be fine. Everyone was different. There was never, this is what's normal. It was terrible. It wrecks your body. It makes you a horrible person. It makes you tired. It's, you know, it sucks. It's terrible. And so now that I know all of that, now that I had to do that for 6 months, now that I know how bad that all was, I'm terrified of ever having to do it again. You know what I mean? That's the thing. I wonder if I'm strong enough to ever do it again. And that's why I don't want to ever have it again and not have to worry about it, right? Like, that's a lot to put on someone, especially going in, that's what I can't wrap my head around, is going in knowing how bad it would be, right? Like, every time when I was, you know, young and naive with it, I was like, whatever, this next time won't be that bad. And then it was like, for some reason, somehow worse, right? And so I don't want that to ever happen again. So money and the return of cancer, those are the two things that worry and stress me out. Other than that, everything's cream cheese. Got a good life. Thank you for letting me live it, supporting me with these things and the shows and the websites and the podcasts and whatnot. Ladies and gentlemen, that's how a Gregway works. You ask me a question, we have a conversation with it, because we are friends, you and I. Please, in the comments, let me know what you'd like to see me talk about. Then make sure you keep coming back and have just a great day with the Gregway. Change the opening of the show, still don't have an ending.